Good Monday morning. And what I'm holding up here is a very nice new Falcon Publications edition. That's the name of the publisher, New Falcon. I think this is rather old, of a classic work by Aleister Crowley called The Heart of the Master. Now, if you have other Aleister Crowley books, Magical Instructions, Magical Theory and Practice, Book 4, The Big Blue Book, The Vision and the Voice, things like that. This is a document of a different nature. And it deals sort of with Crowley writing from the self-identified point of view of a prophet. Now, those of you familiar with Crowley's biography knows that there's wild circumstances surrounding battles of the Theosophical Society, trying to bring a new world teacher on the spiritual scene of humanity. And Crowley seeing how how stupid that was going to look, but nevertheless, he was going through a phase in his life where he's saying, well, if there's going to be a world teacher, this Thelema thing is really great. Maybe I should be the world teacher. And well, that only worked out to a certain degree on on a certain level. And personally, I am not inclined to herald anyone living or dead as the new world teacher that's going to bring well, anyway, I'm not a new world teacher guy. But during that period, Crowley was experiencing, in a sense, and giving voice to a spirit, if you will, that could actually be defined or recognized as the voice of a new world teaching. And like many other phases in Crowley's life, when he wrote this, it was one of the high points of Crowley being in touch with that, in my humble opinion. And in the very last chapter of this, called The Mystery of Sin, his words are so timely to what's going on right now, not only with me personally and perhaps you personally, but the entire world scene. It just struck me. I was drawn to it this morning for this morning's talk, and I'm going to read it to you. It's very, very short. It's called The Mystery of Sin. Remember, this was written in, I think, or at least it was published in 1938. Okay. And what was going on in 1938 was a frightening situation in Europe, and soon all around, it would engulf the entire world. Crowley at the time had many students, or he had students all over the world and all over Europe. And you can sort of sense that he's warning people about what's going on, especially if people don't understand what their own will is. It's like it's all fine and good to tell somebody else, how to behave socially and everything else. But unless you know your own will and doing your own will, you really don't have a platform to stand on to even understand the situation. Here it is, the mystery of sin. The word of sin is restriction. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Such were the words of a certain square tablet of brass, which lay upon the hexagonal table beneath the extended forefinger of my instructor. In other words, he's acting as, actually, he's writing this as a Persian prophet himself. Okay, this is it's wild. This is a Netflix. It's so cool. But anyway, or Max. And because he saw that their sense was partly hidden from me, okay, the sense of the terms, the word of sin is restriction, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And because he saw that their sense was partly hidden from me, he called to my memory two other writings from a compilation of certain Jews of old. Quote, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, unquote. And this, the thought of foolishness is sin. Now did I understand that all men live in sin, being balked of their true will, that is, of the free function of their essential nature. This restriction cometh much from their ignorance of what their true will is, and much from the external hindrance, but most of all from the interference of ill-controlled parts of their own instruments, the body and mind. For freedom is not found in looseness and lack of governance, but in the right ruling of each individual of the common weal, W-E-A-L, so as to assure his own well-being no less than that of the whole. And weal is, the word weal means that which is best for someone. What's in your best interest, okay? All this effect is to be won by perfect organization under the eye of an intelligence adequate to comprehend the general and particular need together. The way of perfection is thus twofold. First, the true will must be consciously grasped by the mind. And this work is akin to that called the attainment of the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. Second, as it is written, quote, thou hast no right but to do thy will. Each particle of energy which the instrument is able to develop must be directed to the doing of that will. And this one fierce lion in the way, that until the second task be already far advanced, the confusion of the instrument is such that it's wholly incapable to accomplish the first. Then said my guide, it is well. Learn this also, a great mystery and wonderful, that all conflict between the parts of the universe springs from this error, and none other. For in our infinite space, which is nothing but our boundless range of possibilities, there is no need that anyone should push his fellow aside. As there's room in heaven for every star to pass upon its way unchallenged, so also with those stars of earth, which go masked as men and women. Know therefore this law of Thelema. Do what thou wilt. Is the first law ever given to mankind, which is a true law for all men in every place and time. All earlier laws have been partial, according to the faith of the hearer, or the customs of the people, or the philosophy of their sages. Nor is there need, with this law of Thelema, of threats and promises. For the law fulfilleth itself, so that one reward is freedom for him who doeth his will, and one punishment is the restriction for him that goeth astray. Teach thou therefore this law to all men, for in so far as they follow it, they cease to hinder thee by their false random motion. And thou dost well to thyself in doing well to them. And he most hindereth himself, who hindereth others from their path, or who constraineth them to some motion improper to their nature. Note also that many men, feeling in themselves the bitterness of restriction, seek to relieve their own pain by imposing a like burden upon their fellows, as it were a cripple who should seek ease by mutilating the bearers of his carriage. So also have men sought to sell their goods by slaying or improving those whom they desire should purchase them. Also, to deny the law of Thelema is a restriction in oneself. Affirming conflict in the universe is necessary. It's a blasphemy against the self, assuming that its will is not necessary and therefore a noble part of the whole. In a word, he who accepts not the law of Thelema is divided against himself. That is, he is insane. And the upshot shall be the ruin of the unity of his Godhead. Yet hearken again. The opposition of two movements is not always evidence of conflict or error. For two opposite points upon the rim of a wheel move one north, the other south. Yet they are harmonious parts of the same system. And the rowlock, which resisteth the oar, hindereth not, but abideth the true will of that oar. So then, self-control is nowise the enemy of freedom, but that which maketh it possible. And he who would deliver a muscle from its bondage to its bone by severing it rendereth that muscle impotent. Moreover, hear this word. As a muscle is vain, except it be rightly ordered, so also thy work to be made easy by uniting thyself to the work of the master, even Therion, whose true will it is to bring each man's work to its perfection. To this end he hath proclaimed his law, and also to that end, which is also thine, do thou aid thy little strength to his great might, as it is written, and blessing and worship to the prophet of the lovely star. Thou therefore go on in my strength, saith the Lord of the Aeon, and ye shall not turn back for any. While he spoke thus, I felt constantly in myself a cleansing of heart, and my stature was increased because of the straightening of my nature. And as I thought this, mine instructor, perceiving it, smiled upon me, saying, In truth, O Khaled Khan, O child of the dawn of the Aeon, that thou hast divined aright and by profited in thy being by the law of Thelema. For the law is just. It demandeth not the crooked knee of slavery, and the bowed head of shame. Nay, shouldst thou speak even to the God of gods, stand thou erect, that thou mayest be one with him by love, as he most assuredly willeth. With that word, the walls of the little chamber in the temple upon the mountain top fell suddenly away from about me, and I found myself alone in a desert place, strange and remote. And of that which befell me there may I not now speak, for there is a beauty which hath no fitter ornament than silence. Now, that may have sounded more like Sunday school, but yesterday we had to tear a new one. We had to tear Paul a new one. Anyway, that's it for today. It's the beginning of a week and soon the beginning of a new month. So I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Until then, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.